You have found the right path to retirement. I am here with financial advisor and certified financial planner, Jimmy Lin, the founder of Right Path Wealth Management right here in Las Vegas. And we are chatting about the biggest retirement topics today. And Jimmy, 401ks have been looking good lately, thanks to many investing in the so-called Magnificent Seven group of stocks. But can this be too much of a good thing? Here is wealth manager Ryan Payne on Fox Business recently. Take a listen.
I think it's a very healthy bull market. We are starting to see this bull market spread out. And I think if you think about growth is accelerating. In fact, this quarter, we're looking at 3.9% GDP growth, which is like off the charts. That's more than historical average. So anything that's like cyclical or is tethered to the economy are a great place to be. And there's so many places that trade cheap versus the Magnificent Seven. And I see this with everyone's portfolios. People are just over levered to that Magnificent Seven trade. And there's lots of great places to put your money right now.
So, Jimmy, can you think of some less risky options? What are you telling clients who are just a few years away from retirement?
Well, the Magnificent Seven, it's like a drug. You know, people are just so addicted to it because they get that high of these returns that have been going on for years and years. But we do have to kind of talk people down from that a little bit. If you look at the Magnificent Seven on its own, it's very interconnected, right? You have all of these kind of AI stocks that are funding each other, selling products to each other, increasing everyone's sales numbers, which is then creating higher stock prices. So it's a little bit scary. Some people kind of equate it to possibly an AI bubble that can be coming similar to the .com bubble that many of my clients have lived through during the early 2000s. So you want to learn from the past. Like, we've kind of seen this play out before. I'm not saying it's going to happen this time, but we've seen it play out where some sector gets really hot, everyone runs to it, and then we see a correction. You know, and example, they talked about NVIDIA recently, where China decided NVIDIA couldn't sell in China and everything tanked. So when you have all of your assets, your entire life savings kind of allocated to 7 stocks that are interconnected, it can be a scary thought. And so what we tell people is, as you're nearing retirement, you have to, again, get that mental shift. You know, many people, they've what we call won the game. You know, your 401ks have never been higher. At some point, you got to take some money off the table and repurpose it. And so that's looking at, when we're planning for retirement, we want to de-risk a little bit of what we have, repurpose it for an income stream or for money that we're going to be using over the next 5 years, let's say, to fund some experiences. And so what we're telling people is just look at some diversification, look at some broad-based ETFs. That's what we have a lot of clients in through our money managers. And then again, index annuities work really well because you can still have growth in your accounts when the market rises. But if we have that correction and the market collapses, you're not going to be exposed to the downside risk. So there's a lot of different tools that are in place that we could utilize in order to participate, but not get caught up in any type of major correction.
Well, I'm sure we've got some listeners approaching retirement and wondering, maybe is it time for them to play things a little bit safer? So Jimmy, if someone's 3 to 5 years from retirement, they've ridden this tech wave up, what would you say is the first move for them to start dialing back that risk a little bit? Would it be about reallocating their investments or maybe just trimming some of that tech exposure? What do you think?
Well, I think for the people that we work with, which I think are a lot of the listeners out there who are just a couple years from retirement and starting to create that plan, I think lock in your gains right now. And then you can reallocate. You can almost reset. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to completely get out of the market, but if you lock in your gains and then slowly re-enter the market, that's called dollar cost averaging. And we have strategies that work really well for that. But also kind of creating those buckets of money based on the specific goals that you have. I think that this is the time where you've built up those 401ks. Now it's time to, again, take some money off the table, repurpose that, reduce your risk, and then start creating those buckets so that we can create those income streams that we want. We can plan for, a legacy for our heirs and also for big ticket purchases. But at this point, I think you have to shift from just thinking about accumulating assets to really start thinking about the other pieces of your plan, because it's not all about investments. Now that you've accumulated these assets, guess what, Casey, for a lot of these 401ks that have built up, there's an embedded tax bill that's there. So you have to start thinking about, how do I start taking this money out in a tax efficient manner so I'm not just hit with a 30-40% tax bill. So that's where I think the mind shift has to change. Take advantage of what you've seen in the market, and now let's have a plan. And that's really where people got to start reevaluating things.
Yeah, look, you've spent decades building this nest egg, and now it's about making sure that it lasts you. But how do you know if you're making too much risk, or maybe you're not taking enough? And that's where Jimmy comes into this picture. So if you've ever wondered, is my portfolio really ready for retirement? Just take this as your sign today. It's time to get that conversation started. 702-744-8344 is that number to dial. And remember, Jimmy has set aside those 5 spots on his calendar for a complimentary retirement consultation. We're standing by right now to take your call and get you on the calendar. So take advantage. That number again, 702-744-8344. One more time, make sure that you've got it down, 702-744-8344. Or if online is easier for you, head to rightpathwm.com. And from there, it's got all the resources that you need to get connected. All right, I know you're a big sports guy, Jimmy, so I like to throw in some sports talk in here when I can. So today we're going to talk a little golf. If you're playing golf with your buddies and your ball lands a foot or so from the pin, oftentimes they'll give you a gimme putt and you can pick up without truly completing the hole. But I read an article this week in the Wall Street Journal that insisted that this is undermining the game. And it made a point that even pro golfers miss short putts sometimes. So thinking about this in retirement planning terms, Jimmy, many might assume that just Social Security, maybe a pension, that's going to be enough income for them in retirement. But how do your clients react, Jimmy, when you're able to develop a much larger income plan for them?
Well, I don't know who these buddies are, but my buddies make me put it out all the time. Right. And it doesn't usually work out too well. So I like those buddies better. But yeah, I mean, when we look at this, equating this to our retirement and our income and Social Security, my job as a financial advisor and a financial planner who's been doing this for the amount of time that I have and has seen the ups and downs of the market and just overall how a plan can kind of get derailed, my job is to be pessimistic. So when I think about people who are creating their income plan and they're relying solely on things like Social Security or maybe a pension if they're lucky, I look at it as, what if Social Security gets reduced? I'm not a Debbie Downer. I'm not a doomsday person, right? But we do know for a fact that the Social Security Trust Fund is running out of money. We also know that if Congress doesn't act by like 2033, maybe, Social Security benefits have to get reduced. So there has to be some type of legislation that comes out in order to correct that. Now, do I believe that's going to happen? I think so, but I have to be pessimistic. So in order to protect us from that, we really have to create additional income streams that we can rely on. And I will say this, most people's income stream, when they're thinking about they maybe have a pension, they have their Social Security, oftentimes what they're relying is just another pile of money, maybe in their 401k or their TSP or their 403b, that they're just going to kind of pick away at to supplement their income. That doesn't necessarily work all the time, because what you're doing then is you're relying on the performance of the market to supplement your income. And if the market doesn't perform correctly, then now your entire plan is out the window. So what we do is we talk about things like, okay, let's look at things like income annuities, especially right now with the high interest rate environment. We can typically get higher payouts than we traditionally would. But it also looks at things like, do we want fixed investments like CDs? Even though rates are lowering, we can lock in some rates for a few years there. But the bottom line is you really need to look at an income plan that looks at longevity. How is this money going to last me over the next 30 or 40 years? How am I going to be able to reduce fees, not be so reliant on the market performance to create that income stream? And then once you do all that and you factor in taxes, what happens is you spend more confidently. You have more freedom to spend when you actually have a plan. So that's why we always encourage all the listeners out there, if you have a pile of money and maybe some Social Security, but you don't actually have a plan, reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We have 5 slots available for a complimentary consultation where I will sit down with you and look at your situation and give you some actionable advice. So if you want to get on my calendar, 702-744-8344 is the number.
And just to emphasize, this is a complimentary meeting. You can meet with Jimmy. He'll take a look at your big financial picture. You can talk through your goals and you can work on that best path forward together. So get on his calendar while you can. Let's see how he can best help you. That phone number again, 702-744-8344. One more time, that's 702-744-8344. Or you can always head to rightpathwm.com and get connected online. All right, I think we are all guilty of it, Jimmy. It's that medical appointment that strikes fear in so many people who have not done what they are supposed to do. Here's comedian Kellen Erskine. Take a listen to him.
By the way, if you're a dentist, would you stop asking us how often we floss? You know. It's your job to know. Stop at the power move. I don't know why it matters to you. My root canal's paying off your Tesla. You shouldn't want me to floss. If I were a dentist, I'd be the richest dentist because everyone would love me because I wouldn't ask you questions. I treat you all like adults. I'd be on your side. Like, yeah, mouthwash burns. I don't use it either. Ugh. Anyway, that'll be $8,000. I'll see you next week. Grab a cookie on the way out.
All right, Jimmy, most dentists insist that you see them about twice a year. So how often do you recommend that clients undergo a review to uncover, let's call them financial cavities, in their retirement plan?
Yeah, so we recommend people meet at least once a year. We meet our clients a couple times a year. And the reason simply is because the world changes so quickly, right? The market changes so quickly, interest rates change so quickly, our clients' lives change so quickly. You know, sometimes they may be doing great at work and they're going to be working for the next 5 years. And then they have a bad month and they're like, you know, Jimmy, I think I got to figure out a way to retire earlier just because I can't do this anymore. So just there's so much going on in the world that you got to meet your advisor at least once a year. If you're not doing that, then you may want to reevaluate whether you're with the right person that has your interests at heart. But yeah, we meet our clients at least once a year, typically a couple times a year, because we talk to them about things like tax strategy over the next decade. And that's important just because the tax code changes all the time. We just had a major change in the tax code over the summertime. So there's always new information that we're learning that we want to then share with all of our clients. So you want to make sure that you have that checkup at least once or twice a year. And same thing, you know, people come in and we're not judging you. We have people that are like, they know that they maybe haven't saved enough or they've been taking on too much risk and they're exposed to some of this downside as they're entering into retirement. And we don't judge, no judgment zone here. So come on in. If you haven't had one of these reviews, you want to at least get one. You know, Casey, we meet people that they haven't retired yet, but they've gone through 30 or 40 years saving and nobody's looked at their accounts to see what kind of fees they're paying, what kind of risk that they're exposed to, and are they getting the type of returns that they should be based on the level of risk. So those are a lot of reasons why you want to meet with somebody at least once a year. And then you want to make sure that you have a strategy going into retirement because, again, life changes so quickly. So don't be afraid of that judgment, at least with us, no judgment zone, and meet with somebody that can really give you a second opinion on your situation.
I think moral of the story is that incorporating the help of a professional sooner rather than later on your retirement journey could help make all the difference for you. So you're ready to get that conversation about your financial future started. Let Jimmy be that partner for you. Or maybe you've already got a plan in place, but you would like a second opinion. Jimmy would love to sit down with you. He'd love to be your second set of eyes with a complimentary review. 702-744-8344 is how you get started. So give us a call. We'll find you the next convenient time on the calendar. That number again, 702-744-8344. One last time so you can write it down. Keep it handy, 702-744-8344. Or you can get started online anytime over at rightpathwm.com. That is going to do it for us this week. We will be back next week, same time, same place, with more great insight from certified financial planner Jimmy Lin here on the Right Path to Retirement. Take care.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Right Path Wealth Management. Right Path Wealth Management is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Right Path Wealth Management are not subject to investment advisory requirements. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Any reference to the protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Right Path Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Right Path Wealth Management. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA.